Law Simplified with Justice, the new informative, educative, and thought-provoking program is what you need to keep abreast with law and politics. This exciting and truly refreshing program is anchored by Justice Maduforo, a solicitor.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a soul-searching discussion here with my colleague. We've been dissecting sole responsibility under the individual rule, those under 18 and those above 18 years of age as well.
Law Simplified with Justice understands that law is a powerful driver to human behavior. It is therefore poised to simplify the law and get you to take action.
Bring it to your doorstep and simplify it the way that you will understand.
Contact Justice by calling 07931 727 597 or email lawsimplifiedwithjustice@yahoo.co.uk. Law Simplified with Justice, bringing the best to the audience.
Let me come back to what I was saying before. I was discussing about the Rehabilitation Offenders Act. It will strike viewers to understand now that although they didn't go out to just commit offense, but at any time the offense or cause of which that evidence and found the person wanted, convicted, and then sentenced, so to say. And once you have been sentenced to 2.5 years imprisonment, the new rule coming in 6th of April 2011
yes,
shows that you cannot spend it.
Indeed.
That means you cannot apply for indefinite leave to remain again. I mean, it's quite shocking. And this wasn't applicable before 6th of April. But what happened is that the Home Office will still look at your application, look at the offense committed, see whether it's serious enough to still grant you. So look at the conduct criteria and the consequences. But now, with the 6th of April 2011, such convictions of 2.5 years imprisonment, you will not be entitled to apply for indefinite leave to remain. And such application, they said, must underline, be refused. I mean, this is a massive amendment.
Not only that, take for instance, fine, apart from parking fine. Fine takes under the rule, Rehabilitation of Offenders Act, 1974. It takes 5 years.
To be spent, isn't it?
5 solid years.
I mean,
just fine.
It's crazy.
It's so important that people understand and appreciate the seriousness of this matter and take it into account. There's no two ways about it. The only way to stay out of trouble is if you got into trouble and those sort of thing applies to you. There was one case I just did recently about driving offense.
Right.
And that just driving offense, and that was serious enough.
Wow.
I know. But notwithstanding the mitigation and the rest of it,
it still went ahead. So you see, it's important, viewers, as we're saying that, it's gone further to explain to you. There are some practical examples that we see on a daily basis in practice. This rule that came in the 6th of April is very, very essential. I basically printed this out so that I can just go out and explain it one or the other. I'll give it to you. A prison sentence, depending on if you're under 17 or you are over 18 years. Obviously, the 5 years period you talked about is for those over 18.
Indeed.
Now, for those under 17, having, out of juvenile delinquency, have committed such offense, the rules say that you must spend for 2.5 years. Well, you'll be here with your parents, on an application with the parents, and then the parents now want to make application for indefinite leave to remain. What that means now is that with that offense you have, a conviction you have for for fines, compensations, you're definitely looking at having to spend 2.5 years before you make the application. And let me ask you, what is the consequences for someone who have made the application, obviously who have not spent the 5 years, between the period of the application? Obviously, he was entitled to make the application, save for the fact that the 5 years period hasn't been spent yet. So he had to wait for 5 years to come by. Within the period, what would be the status of this person? Assuming the person have exhausted coming through the route of 10 years rule, you said, having made application, having been here as a student or stayed legally for 10 years, now I want to make the application for indefinite leave to remain. Now, caught up with this 5 years spent, which it hasn't occurred. And then, what happens within the period? That also I haven't really thought about what will be the status of this person at the period where he's now eligible to make application for 5 years for indefinite leave to remain, but say for the fact that the conviction he has had to spend 5 years before he makes that application. What happened to the period? These are very technical areas.
Indeed, I don't know whether the Parliament has actually thought about it, the consequence of this gap,
yes.
called gap, because what happened in the situation which you just mentioned, say for instance someone has actually completed, as a student, he spent 10 years now.
Absolutely.
And he just a few months' time, you're just about to make up, there is this criminal convictions. What would you happen? If you don't apply, then
he's out of it.
You overstay.
Exactly. It's terrible. So can that person now plug in? This is really very important. Very, very important, because I really thought about that. And I like what you said. The Parliament may not have thought about it. But I think the idea is to really put people off. So that once you overstayed, and 5 years is too long enough for you to stay, you better pack your load and leave. That's what it means, because definitely they write you and say, you no longer have leave to remain in the kingdom. And this is someone who have completely, for 10 years period, continuously leave to remain, save for a fine and a compensation. I mean, this is serious. Let me give you the other one as well. For a prison sentence for 6 months or less, the period of rehabilitation is 7 years. For those over 18 years. 7 years from 6th of April. So if you don't make the application and you have this conviction, 6 months, how do you get 6 months? 6 months convictions are mainly summary offenses where the magistrate court imposes 6 months imprisonment or 6 months suspended even. Even suspended sentences also applies, imagine. And then let's say for instance now, they've also said, as you rightly said, even absolute discharge. Because some offenses are so minor that the court discharges you absolutely. Now, with this new introduction on 6th of April, and under the Rehabilitation Offenders Act, that means that the period to stay before you can make application is 6 months. Now, stay caught up with a student who stayed here 10 years, and now to make application for 6 months, he stays without papers, regularizing his papers.
I appreciate your point, because the Parliament, with infinite wisdom, may or may not have actually appreciated this.
Right.
But, I'm quite sure that as we progress now, there are eminent lawyers and practitioners who will challenge this. Because always,
I think so.
Because from my point of view, I think it's quite harsh. But nonetheless, law is law. It has to be obeyed, which is very important. I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
As it stands now, until it's challenged, do not bang on it.
Absolutely. Obviously, as I said, disqualification, he said the rehabilitation period for disqualification is the length of the disqualification. Someone is disqualified for 2 years, definitely have to stay away for 2 years before making the application. So that catastrophic consequences as a result of that. Let's discuss with the viewers a little bit. You know, it's important for you to engage, for you to understand these new introductions may affect you. You may be at the stage you want to apply for indefinite leave to remain, for yourself, for your wards, for those your family members. Now, you have to check whether either of them have got these issues. You know, speak to us. The telephone lines on the screen, the email addresses on the screen, and we will advise you and take you through to see how you can do this. Obviously, stay off from issues that will put you through situations whereby it will be difficult for you to understand what exactly you've done. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is important that you engage. Now, as we've gone through that, we've explained so many circumstances whereby, you know, you have these situations, okay? But whatever way it is, you have to engage. We've discussed these issues. We've discussed the cost, and also we discussed the citizen members, EE members who make this application through that. Also discussed lost, because you can lose it at any point in time. Now, what is the benefit of someone who has indefinite leave to remain in the kingdom? What is the benefit? Because this all talk and hype about acquire this status. What is the benefit actually? Is it different from the others?
I can assure you, yes. The benefit is so huge. It's so immense. Which is why it's like gold mine, which is why it's a treasure, which is why it's so important for you to actually seek to get it. Right. If you have permanent residence, say for instance, that allows you to actually make application to perhaps, if you haven't got accommodation, to the appropriate authorities so that they can provide accommodation for you. You're out of job, you'll be able to actually apply for benefits. Or certain things that you obviously need, you can actually approach authorities, because the authorities have recognized you and now give you permission to settle, which is to say, like I said before, to be able to be regarded, have the same treatment, just as if you are a citizen. And of course, which is very important for those from ethnic minorities who wish to travel overseas and come back and visit their relatives and rest of it without having to go to British Embassy to get visa to come, which is very important, which is costly as well. Because
Absolutely.
if you have permanent resident, you can zoom in perhaps. You're from Ghana or from Nigeria or from Sierra Leone or from Gambia or from Afghanistan or wherever, Egypt or wherever I come from. And you say, man, my mother is sick. I want to go home. Zoom. Pick up your ticket, pick up your bag, you go.
So you mentioned one thing there, the ability to travel at any time without hindrance.
Indeed.
And obviously, there's also this issue about assessing funds here, public funds in the United Kingdom as well, which you mentioned as well, you know, so they can assess funds as well. What about also, most of them have this idea about, you know, the discounts they get in student home fee in terms of those who want to study here. So that affects them as well. That means they pay home fees, sort of international fees.
Yes.
There's quite another advantage to that.
Fantastic. You can't ask for more, especially in relation to, you know, what is happening at the moment with these student fees and being regarded as overseas national and be having to pay the ridiculous amount of money you have to pay to institutions now and rest of it. And now having the privilege, the opportunity, the having that to stand alongside with British citizens, to mingle with people who have the right to be here, just like you have, to walk into any institution to say, I want to study here. And as long as you have the right qualifications, they cannot be refused because you have permanent residence.
Law Simplified with Justice, the new informative, educative, and thought-provoking program is what you need to keep abreast with law and politics. This exciting and truly refreshing program is anchored by Justice Maduforo, a solicitor.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a soul-searching discussion here with my colleague. We've been dissecting sole responsibility under the individual rule, those under 18 and those above 18 years of age as well.
Law Simplified with Justice understands that law is a powerful driver to human behavior. It is therefore poised to simplify the law and get you to take action.
Bring it to your doorstep and simplify it the way that you will understand.
Contact Justice by calling 07931 727 597 or email lawsimplifiedwithjustice@yahoo.co.uk. Law Simplified with Justice, bringing the best to the audience.